Oh.
But you can call the meeting or whatever you want.
Anita, this is Emily, I'm just trying to see if the time to be set up the meeting, it's January, it's at 6 o'clock. Here she is. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Yeah, we have a meeting today, the CAC. Are you anywhere involved?
Hello.
Okay, so, okay. All right, there is a Zoom, and you don't even want to do a Zoom, right? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, we can bring it to order now at 6:06. It's not coming, so we're still okay with that. Okay, I want to note that Emily, Kevin, and Helen are here. Anita's absent, and Brianna is excused. So, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Alderman Michael Tierney.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. And Eli Duker is our guest speaker.
Tanya Garber,
Tanya Garman,
member of
great.
the public, and Mary's on the line.
And Mary McNamara's on the line. Okay, hi Mary. Okay,
We're at a number.
so are there any additions to the, sure, oh, sorry.
I'm Kevin McAvoy, and well, I was the secretary for 2023. We'll see what happens in 2024. That'll be to be determined. Yeah, and I'm on a few other boards as well. Julie on the climate board, and with Suzanne on the historic.
I'm Helen Atkinson, writer and journalist, and been on the board on the music group for 2 years.
And she was unfair, so I don't know what your word is. And you're,
I'm in Ward 8, I'm until Ward 2.
yeah, he's Ward 2. And I'm Emily Hodger, and I live on Highland Avenue, which is Ward 9. And Eli lives in Kingston.
Yeah, I'm actually at the corner of Franklin and Fair, so.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm Julie.
And Julie knows.
I'm not on the CAC, but I serve as the staff liaison. Ward 6.
Great. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? Mary's gonna talk about the Lower East Sopus, but it's gonna fit into the Pace University LWRP. And if we need to, after we hear from you, I will decide if we need to kind of move things around in order. Okay, annual elections.
Before you do, I think Tanya is going to speak on
Oh, yeah.
under zoning.
I'm so sorry. Okay, we always allow, we never have any guests. So I'm just gonna.
Oh, thanks. Oh, that's great. Okay, I'd love to make a public comment submission. So, okay, so this is a picture of that intersection that is on the corner of the the Empire State Trail from where Boulevard turns onto Greenkill Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's that intersection that's pretty hard for pedestrians to navigate. Down here, yep, Yeah, so here's Boulevard, here's South Wall. There's the wine store, there's the Stewart's, there's the pizza parlor, there's the bakery. And where the mechanic was, right here, is gonna be a, what's it called, a dispensary. If it goes, I mean, if I don't run them out of town, no, I'm just joking. But, so their approach, and I'm not gonna run them out of town. I'm glad that place is gonna be activated and that it will be a use that people can use. I have nothing against dispensaries. However, it is a project where the most recent thing that happened is they are asking the Common Council, or they asked the Common Council last month's laws and rules to allow them to use the public right of way for parking. It's an 18-foot deep, what should be sidewalk. This is, in the new code, we've got street design standards, and South Wall is a C context for local road, which dictates that it should have a minimum 5-foot wide sidewalk plus minimum 4-foot wide snow storage space. So that is some hope for the future to get some drainage and green on there, but also activating it more as a public realm for pedestrians. So as it is now, all the previous owners have used the entire thing for a parking lot. And actually, Stewart's does the same thing. They use three other spots are in the public realm. It could be a sidewalk. I haven't investigated what these are dictating the code to be, but this is a street that our code, it was voted in just as recently as August, that this street is appropriate to have a sidewalk. But the public road has been used for parking in the past, and it's the beginnings of the lawns of the people who are the residential ones. But the issue, I think, here that makes it important to take this opportunity and reclaim the public realm is its location in an area where pedestrians tend to become invisible, and it's a gateway for bicyclists and pedestrians, being the entryway from the Empire State Trail that goes there. So it's an interesting thing because it's just since August that the zoning code has been adopted, and the planning administrator did not really, she wasn't that engaged with the public process and didn't show a lot of interest in the form-based code. She's kind of catching up now. And this is a site plan. It falls under a minor site plan review, which is just reviewed by the planning department, and then she gets feedback from other departments. However, they are asking for, at this point, 13 parking spaces. And our form-based code, it got rid of its minimum parking, on-site parking requirements, but now it's got parking regulations that have things like maximum 1 curb cut, and it can be 20 feet wide only. Parking spaces need to be a certain size, and the roads between the drive between us need to be a certain width. But very importantly, screening is supposed to be at parking that's close to the sidewalk, and that doesn't have to be landscaping. It has to be between 3 and 4 feet high, and it really just is to make it more comfortable to be on the sidewalk and not to feel like you're in a sidewalk, more welcoming and induce walking. And larger parking lots require landscaping. This parking lot does not require landscaping. However, this was approached in a sort of backwards way because the building is adaptive reuse. As long as it's not going farther away from the intent of the code, it is not required to, upgrade, make the larger windows or do anything that is going to, go towards the building standards. It's to encourage adaptive reuse, and so they're going to take out some windows, but they're going to put some windows back. And they're not required to do anything beyond that for their building. They are, however, required, because it falls under one of 3 categories, they are subject now to the parking standards, which is set for the building. And so the parking standards go into effect if it's a new build, if it's an increase in intensity of use, or if it's a change of use. And this is a change of use. It was a mechanic and now it's gonna be a dispensary. And we have, which I don't know if people are aware, but there's a maximum parking allowed on sites. The maximum for that spot, that is 5 spots. They came to the planning department saying that they wanted 10 spots, and they didn't show any need for the public realm, need for takeover the sidewalk. By the time they finished working with planning started telling them to, like, working with their architect and planning out all this landscaping, which is not in the code for this, and totally just didn't even address the minimum parking, the maximum parking, or the maximum curb cuts. The week after, it came onto my radar when it went to Laws and Rules asking for the public realm to fit these now 13 spots. And so a week later, I didn't really have time until a week later to really pull it all together and understand that they never put in a major site plan, a major waiver for the exceeding the maximum parking. And then the applicants.
Okay.
I don't believe they were ever asked to put one in. I called planning, I alerted them that they didn't put a major waiver for maximum parking accession or a minor waiver for exceeding the one curb cut per lot. There's all sorts of other things there that haven't been addressed that I haven't even brought up to planning yet, like the screening that are just not even acknowledged. And the planning, and so I want to just quickly, I'm wrapping it up now, but I wanted to say that the purpose in the code for the maximum lots, it's, okay, they limit the on-site parking to 5 spots with the intent, and the code says, quote, to limit parking facility size, which impacts walkability and impervious ground cover. And this is a perfect example of this is going to actually do the opposite. It's going to keep that larger parking lot. And in the code, there's going to be big projects that would do more for the public realm than this is going to do. But if the code is followed, we'll have an incremental step towards that that's immediately visible. We'll reclaim the public realm. We'll be able to have some drainage on the public realm. We'll have a place for pedestrians to be. And lastly, that this plan as it is doesn't have any approach for pedestrians. In order to approach this whole lot, they have to walk through the driveway. And not only do they have 2 curb cuts, there's some spots that butt into the side of the building on south wall. Those are like 4 or 5 spots. There's no driveway to go there. They just pull right out into south wall. So there's 2 curb cuts plus all these cars that are gonna back out into south wall. We need our sidewalk back. I'm worried because it went to the Laws and Rules asking for an easement, and it's not confirmed yet whether the new plan, the new thing to look into was going to be a contract. We don't know yet if the Common Council even has any power to stop a contract. It might now be out of their hands. And of course, planning's gonna wanna cover their butts because they're gonna look really foolish because they didn't approach this zoning code in the correct way.
So I just want to say, so when you talk about stewards, they basically just have
Stewards. Yeah,
So that's where they kind of are on the public realm.
they have,
And this way they would, in this new one.
well, stewards is an example. So this is the public realm for the, for this Lucky Green Ladies. But stewards also has, this is from
But how-
parcel here.
Yeah, so how much parking can they do right on the street? Because when I go to stewards, I park on the street.
Well, and stewards, I don't know if there's parking allowed. I haven't looked at
It is
this.
allowed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on both sides.
Wow, so we could have this as sidewalk and have parallel parking and maybe we'd have more parking, which would buffer the pedestrians and traffic
Because they
calm.
drive out everywhere there too.
There's traffic calm to put
Yeah.
parking in there
So
too.
where would the driveway for the,
Lucky Green Ladies. Right now, it's planned 1 here and 1 here.
right, so that.
But if they had 5 spots, they could put them all, like, I don't know how it would be most sense, but I do know that they would fit here and you'd have 1 driveway to here and it would be going off of,
Yeah, well, the thing is
That's a busy- right, that's the busiest one, yeah. So,
Wow, and they
Yeah.
own the property?
her parents bought the property for her to develop. She owns a delivery lovely ladies in Massachusetts. And I actually called her and I spoke to her on the phone. And she's saying, well, this is gonna be one of the first, what's it called, I don't want blank on that name. Dispensary. This is gonna be one of the first dispensaries in Ulster County. It's gonna be a destination. People are gonna wanna drive here. My employees need a place to park. But the wine store across the street has 3 spots. In 2016, the Common Council abolished parking for 60 feet in from Greenhill Avenue. But that may be because there was a driveway there, because they had all these cars pulling out. Still, people ignored that, and if you look on the Google Maps, you can see people parking through the years.
Yeah.
So if it was put back in with enough daylighting in the corner, then there'd be some shared parking, municipal parking, that would be allowed.
So is there a time frame on this?
Well, they're gonna go, unfortunately, now, I called planning a week after they were at Laws and Rules, and I told them about the missed step of the waivers. And so they had them put the application in the next day, which was 1 day late to actually be at planning. But, you know, they let that slide, of course, because they didn't let them know before then that they had to do that. So they're gonna be at planning this month. And so they very rare, and that's before the Laws and Rules meeting. So even if it is still in the hands of Laws and Rules, it's gonna go to planning first. So planning board might be basing it on, you know, this process. They don't have any more training on the form-based code that I know of than the administrator does. And so they may very well let them exceed the parking maximum.
All right,
All the way to 13. Yeah.
any more questions?
The easements, is that still under discussion?
Well, they let go of the easement idea pretty much and then
because
changed
generally,
it.
you would do a license, not
Yeah.
an easement. Or you know, temporary easements are usually for construction sites, and,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a different thing, you know.
yeah, so which would be renewable every year, but if they're going to,
So it would be a license.
yeah. But now, like, when they first submitted it, they didn't have any landscaping planned. Now Suzanne has gotten them to agree to a certain amount of landscaping. It doesn't have the proper setback for the parking, it doesn't have the proper screening for the parking, but she had landscaping, which is not required of them, but they're going to spend more money than they would have before. And so the chances of that contract, or whatever it's called, not being renewed are 0. Once that's allowed, they're gonna be like cemented in until somebody else owns that property.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. It's hard to stay succinct with
You're
this.
really
one.
bad. Okay,
Oh, bioswales.
Yeah, we don't know what the landscaping is, it wasn't
That was
specified,
my question.
and it doesn't do any screening, yeah. And of course, like, we're not gonna have the opportunity for snow storage and the sidewalks,
okay,
if we do this. It's not a done deal.
okay. Okay, so now we're gonna have the elections. Okay, so right now, I'm the chair and Kevin is the secretary. And so Helen, do you want to nominate us or should we go nominate each other?
I would like to nominate Emily Hauser as chair and Kevin McAvoy as secretary.
And should we vote on the entire slate?
I'll second you.
No, I'll second Kevin. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3-0. All right.
That answers the question.
And then, okay. Can we review and approve the December meeting minutes? I sent mine in. Julie.
Julie had a couple of other things that I just already sorted through. You know, the word inland waterway got dropped out at some point. And I already explained how the number one got there. So I think we're all good. with the amendments.
Okay, so, I will move that we accept the minutes as, corrected.
I second.
All right, all in favor? All right. 2-0, great. Okay, now, We have Eli Duker of Bard College speaking on airborne PCBs and the movement of water pollution. And Eli's a professor at Bard and he lives in Kingston. And that's, you can say anything more you want. And
Sure.
he's also been helping us with air quality
Yeah.
monitoring.
Sure, I did put some slides together. We'll see if it works. So should I just share my screen?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. My computer and I have not been getting along. So we'll see what happens here.
Looks okay now. It's kind of middle.
Yeah. let's see. Might be what we're stuck with. Oh, that's better. Okay, is that better? Okay, so yes, my name is Eli Huber. I'm an environmental microbiologist at Bard College. I taught there since 2014 and have lived at Fair and Franklin Street for the same amount of time. And as Emily mentioned, I have been working with the city of Kingston for a while now, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe? I don't know. Particularly through the air quality concerns that the CAC has had. And even though I'm an environmental microbiologist, I've gone down this road of air quality. So I'm gonna tell you what I know about air quality and PCBs in Hudson Valley, but just know that I am not, I'm in no way an air quality chemist or like a specialist. I'm really just an environmental scientist who also cares about the air quality in Kingston. So, I will take note of your questions if I can't answer them and find out the answers for you. I don't think I need to be standing, but basically, I wanted to go over real quick what we've done so far with the city, just so everyone's on the same page. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay, so in about, oh yeah, so it's been like 5 years, I guess.
Feels like forever. Feels like forever.
It does. Because COVID happened and, everything ended then. So we started partnering with the CAC and we established the Kingston Air Quality Initiative, which we call KECI, with Julie Noble, Lorraine Farina, and some other CAC members. And it ended up with us putting up the air quality sensor package on the Andy Murphy building in 2020. And we started in January. We started with one of the biggest windstorms I've ever seen, before or since. And the air quality sensor stayed up there, so it's there for good. And it's been a really great partnership. We've since upgraded the sensor and are getting some really good data. And hopefully you've seen some of that. We put it out every year trying to do an analysis, and it's absolutely at your service whenever anyone needs air quality data or wants to know more about air quality in Kingston. So since then, the Community Sciences Lab at Park, which is what I work with, has also placed neighborhood level sensors. So as you know, no one lives on the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center roof, as far as we know. And so we were hoping to get some sensors that were down closer to where we actually breathe. And so we've been working with libraries. I think we have over 10 libraries now who have purple air sensors, which measure particulate matter in their doorways across the Hudson Valley. So folks are actually able to look at what the air quality is like nearer to where they live. And we're still working to concentrate that coverage. I didn't know there were so many libraries in the Hudson Valley, but this is like a small portion of them. It's pretty amazing. We also did just get some funding from the EPA to do the same kind of sensor package that Kingston has on the roof in Newburgh and Poughkeepsie. And I wanted to just put this out there because I know you asked me to come and talk about PCBs, but in the same way, with your asking about PCBs shows leadership, I think this is an opportunity for Kingston to show leadership as we embark on a similar project with Newburgh and Poughkeepsie. And we've learned a lot in working with Kingston, and I think it might be really cool to kind of think about some way that the CACs could interact and talk about air quality once we get those sensor packages up. It's just something to put out there for you. Okay, so yeah, see, not getting long. All right, so here's just a demonstration of what our portal looks like. This is the public portal that is accessible through the city website and through Bard's website, of course. This shows you air quality. I think this was taken someday in December of this year. But this is the dashboard that shows you the data that you're getting from the Andy Murphy building. So you can see particulate matter, which tells you how good the air quality is. You can look at wind speed, wind direction, humidity, temperature, and that kind of thing. And it's done, I think it's been a really good resource so far. I mean, you can tell, yes, if it has been helpful to the city, I think it got the most traffic during the wildfire
Yes,
incident. Yeah,
incredibly high traffic.
yeah. So,
Really?
yeah, it was pretty visionary to get it in there, unfortunately. And now we're starting to educate the public around the fact that it's there and it is a resource. And it really is important for folks who have those breathing issues to be able to tell. And then the other really important data set we're coming away with from the Andy Murphy building is the long-term sense. So over to the left is the beginning of when we put the sensors in around 2020, and that goes all the way to the end of 2023. Well, a little bit before that because we don't have, no, it's just the end of 2022, I'm sorry. So this data set is unique because it shows PM 2.5, which is the particulate matter that's so small, it can get stuck in your lungs and it actually can go directly into your bloodstream, and some of it can cross the blood-brain barrier. So these are very toxic and harmful, even if they weren't made of anything toxic to begin with, because they get into places that they shouldn't be. And on top of that, PM 2.5 is where the toxins are, like PCBs. So we're going to talk about that, right? The toxins that can be present in the air. So this is a long-term data set showing the PM 2.5 averages, and we've calculated them specifically how the EPA calculates them by day, so 24-hour averages. And these are the kinds of numbers and calculations that EPA makes for tracking, for enforcement purposes and that kind of thing, just trying to see if air quality is good or air quality is bad. But as you can tell, it changes a lot by day. So like it goes up and down, it has everything to do with what's happening locally, and then sometimes it can have, and sometimes as we discovered in the wildfire incident in June, it can actually be affected by something that's far away. So the key things to look at here is that we are, for the most part, under the EPA's stated threshold for air quality on a 24-hour basis, but there are times we go over that.
Is that the dotted line?
Yeah, so that's the top dotted line, and then the dotted line below that is the World Health Organization's determination, which is much lower than the United States' EPA, and that's all about politics. So there are a lot of different ways to read this, but I read it as there's room for improvement for us, and it's something that we can take a look at as we go through time to see if different things that we do, different measures we might take, different ordinances we might enforce, might make differences on this. But if you take a look at it closely, you'll see that 4th of July is always sticking right out there. And there are certain things that we do as a population and nationally that changes our air quality. And what that gives me hope, because we actually do have a lot more control over air quality, I think, than we are trained to understand. So one of the ways that, speaking of that, one of the ways that we can control the air quality locally is by paying attention to the weather patterns that are happening. So I don't know if folks are familiar with what atmospheric inversions are, but they're weather patterns that basically create a cap over the valley. That then means that anything that's released into the air through burning can't actually escape to the higher levels of the atmosphere. And so we've developed, we're going to try to get this up. We'd like to put it up with the city possibly, but we're calling it an inversion watch. It's based on balloons that are released regularly by Albany. NOAA operates out of Albany, and they release these weather balloons that measure temperature as you go up. And this graph shows on the y-axis is height. So as you go up, and then on the x-axis is temperature. And so a normal atmosphere would definitely have that blue line starting at 30 degrees Fahrenheit and going straight up. And because inversions are when the temperature gets flipped. And so we've been able to figure out how to actually communicate when there's a potential inversion, which means that we could get the word out and hopefully educate the public to understand that during those times, that's when, if you really need to, use your wood, have your bonfire, those kinds of things, maybe if it's just for comfort's sake, you could wait until there isn't an inversion. Maybe you could change the ways that you think about the air and understand that there are some times that are better than others to do certain types of things. This also could apply to construction efforts and things like that. Leaf blowing, I thought, was a thing. Like, if there's an inversion and you do these things, that will affect a lot more people than if you wait until there's not an inversion. So this is something, can be days, can be weeks. Yeah. So this is a cool thing. And then we've got the library air quality sensors. Those are basically, there's the purple air public. You can take a look at the air quality in all the different spots. The red circle is, of course, the Hudson Valley Library Network, which is growing. So it's kind of cool. And if you guys have any other libraries you'd like for us to get in, we'd love to. Yes, we just put one in, actually, early. Yes, thanks. I didn't even know that Hurley had a library. Okay, so PCBs. So yeah, Eli, what about PCBs? Basically, PCBs, as you all probably know, because we live in Hudson Valley, are some nasty chemicals that were developed by, anybody want to guess? Who developed it? No, but who developed it for GE?
Dow Chemical?
I'm saying, oh, Dow, they change the names all the time, right? Yes, exactly. No one is surprised. That's the thing that is really interesting to me. So they developed this really horrible chemical. It's a polychlorinated biphenyl. It's got these rings here. This is the chemical structure for different PCBs. There are over 200 different types of PCBs. Their structures vary, and the thing that makes them more poisonous than less, although they are all poisonous, is the number of chlorines that you see on the rings. And so also the more chlorines there are, generally the heavier the chemical is. And the reason why I'm telling you this is that that's what determines how it's transported. Because if the molecule is really heavy, it means that there are certain ways it's going to interact with the environment and with the human body. So PCBs were developed, basically, they're lubricants, they don't burn. They're really helpful for high energy things like transformers and electronics. And they also have been used in all sorts of fluids and lubricants. And until 1979, they were used liberally because they were really, really, really effective and cost effective too. So as of 1979, the EPA banned their use, but very much like lead in paint, that did not end its legacy. So what we're working with now, when we think about PCBs in the Hudson Valley, is a legacy of pollution that has been going on for, I don't know, what is 2024 when it's 1974? 50 years, right? So we have a legacy, and that legacy, unfortunately, has resulted in PCBs being ubiquitously distributed around the globe. So it's ubiquitously distributed, but it's not ubiquitously or evenly distributed. So basically, there are certain ways that PCBs, oh my God, me and this computer are really gonna have a conversation. The PCBs are concentrated, and that's where when we think about the concentration of PCBs, that's when we start thinking about the sources. So a source of PCBs nowadays could be anything because they're everywhere, but a concentrated source is generally where life has engaged with PCBs and ended up aggregating those, or the PCBs themselves have sedimented out or gravitated towards largely dust if it's in the air, so it will deposit and connect with dust on the ground, and or it will become attached to the sediment at the bottom of rivers and lakes and streams. Those PCBs are there for many different reasons. In the Hudson River, we know that GE put them there. But across the Hudson Valley, the PCBs got there because they moved from where GE put them. And the way that they move is through air and water.
Microplastics.
Yeah, they can associate with PCBs. They can get associated. So when we think about protecting ourselves from PCB exposure, we have to think about how do we protect ourselves from these concentrated areas of PCBs. Does that make sense? So if you're a fisherman and you're on the water of the Hudson and you know that there are PCBs in the water and the sediment, if you're fishing and you eat the fish, you know that the fish has concentrated PCBs because it's eating smaller things that are eating smaller things and have had higher exposure, right? What folks don't usually think about is that that's not just reserved to the water, it also it happens on land. And so long living things like trees, animals, us, we can accumulate PCBs as well. So we become sources as well. And because of that, when we think about waste treatment plants and stormwater management, and yes, like burning wood, these are themselves resuspension or redistribution of that pollution. So we're contributing and moving the PCBs around when we eat the fish or we destroy the trees and then breathe those trees. When we have wastewater treatment plants and stormwater systems that are non-functioning, or they're putting the PCBs right back into the Hudson. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, I never get the fun jobs here. I know it's not fun to hear about, but there's some good things here. So just to take a look real quick at so the Superfund site of the Hudson River, clearly it covers the Hudson Valley. There are, and it's important to note that this is a map that's taken from the EPA. They don't just outline the river, they are outlining the lands around the river, right? And so as early as 20 years ago, they went out and they tested the air near the Hudson River, and they saw that the levels of PCBs were higher, closer to the river in the air. So they've known that PCBs can be transferred from the water. It's something that, it's just, it's reality. So let me tell you real quick how it happens, and then I'll just let you guys ask me questions. Basically, the way that things that are in the water get transferred to the air is when bubbles pop. And so, because you have to, you all know that water has its like protective film, so that's why little droplets can hang out and not break and disperse. When you break that film, it's really hard to do in rivers, lakes, and streams because that the water surface is pretty tight. But bubbles have the capacity to explode that through that layer, and when they do that, they eject microscopic drops. Some of those drops are big enough, like the jet drops you see there, they fall right back in. But the smaller, they're called film drops, which are from the actual outside of that bubble, are ejected with incredible force and become aerosols. Okay, and when I say aerosols, I mean anything that's suspended in the air that we can then breathe. So this is just a basic reality, is that anything that's in the water will also be in the air. So this is true of salt. So anyone who lives near the ocean knows this, right? But it's also true of anything else we put in the water, anything. So contamination, sewage, all of that, it becomes aerosolized. The extent to which it's aerosolized is how many bubbles are in the water. And when we think about bubbles in the water, the way that we know that that's happening, that creation of aerosols is happening, is whenever we see white water. White caps, foam, things like that. that's aerosols being created right in front of your eyes, which is really exciting to me. That's what I study. If you think about the kinds of things that do that in the water, it's, you're thinking about folks that are playing at Kingston Beach, which I do all the time with my family, Kingston Point, and you're thinking about places where we are doing boat recreation, when you're turning up the water, and also when there's high wind events. So high wind events are creating, so if you're in a boat and you got the motor on, you're creating aerosols that might affect you and are gonna affect folks a little further out. But when you have a major wind event, you're ending up with a lot of whatever's in the water, in the air. And it depends on which way the air is moving, the wind is moving, and that kind of thing. Okay, so you have the emission, so you have the creation of bubbles, their emission, their transport, and then their eventual deposition, which is just falling out of the air onto the land. And that's trees, grass, dirt, people. And so back when I first started studying this, what I was interested in was looking at how the humongous waste inputs in New York City, which would make actually the top of the water fully like 3 or 4 inches of pure fecal matter. What did that mean when there were big wind events? That was really what I was interested in looking at. And we demonstrated that, and at this point, it was new back then, but it is very clear now, that anything that's in the water is in the air. And so air quality and water quality need to be thought about together, particularly in places like river valleys and coastal areas and things like New York City. It's just showing you that kind of this happened after a flood event. Kiwanis Canal in Brooklyn, that literally is what the top of the, yes. So the other thing that I will tell you before I talk about what I think the CAC might be able to do about these things is that the levels of PCBs that were found in the air by the EPA back in 2004, I think is when they ran their study looking at air at a couple of sites near Hudson River. Those levels, they stated, they couldn't say whether or not they were high or low because there are no regulations for PCBs in the air. Just like most of the things that we're constantly interested in, those regulations haven't happened yet, like PFAS. Like these are emerging contaminants. So we don't actually have national regulations to depend on to be able to say, yeah, there was this much in the air and that was bad. So the only thing they had to compare it to were other communities in similar situations. And when they did that, and who knows what those similar situations were, when they did that, the levels that were found near the Hudson River and near that Superfund site weren't as high as some other areas that they had studied. That's about how much they could say. So
Other areas in the world?
no, the United States, the EPA had said. So
And you're talking about near Fort Edwards?
yeah, they studied Fort Edwards, and I forget what the other one was. It's G. Can't remember what the other spot was. They studied, but they were saying compared to other Superfund sites where they were doing PCB cleanup around the nation, those levels weren't as high as they had seen. However, they were higher the closer you were to the Hudson River. So there's no doubt that they are being distributed. Then the question becomes, does that affect people? What is the public health impact of that? And that we're very far from knowing, I think. I don't know that that's something that anyone is ready to answer in terms of what is the effect of having a certain level of PCBs in the air when you breathe, which makes me think, and I keep coming up to this kind of thing in water quality as well, which is that we can't wait for the EPA to help us be healthy. We just can't. They are behind. And if we know, if PCBs are not something that we want to live with in the valley and we want to protect ourselves, we can do things that don't have to wait for the EPA. It'll be great when they catch up, but there are things that we can do as a community to help our overall health. It's hard if we think just about PCBs and the effects of PCBs on people, but if we actually look at people's holistic health in the Hudson Valley and in Kingston, we can make changes that will help, whether or not the EPA ever figures out what is regulatory regulatorily acceptable in terms of exposure to PCBs. And so that's kind of what I'm saying here, but you know, I'm not on CAC, you all have a hard job. And so I'm just giving you some ideas and I'm totally happy to help.
You could join.
Yeah, I did just get your email. I'm thinking about it. But what I think the CAC could do is educate the public more about air quality in general and also about PCBs specifically. I learned something preparing for this, so I don't know if other folks know this stuff. We can also push for faster and more effective remediation of PCBs in the river. We know that that's going slowly and has been ineffective, you know, in some ways. But I think also if we limit public interaction with known PCB exposure routes, things that we have control over, then if the Hudson River is spewing out PCBs, at least it will be falling on people that have less exposure from these other routes, right? So if we think holistically about things that we can control, it actually means that we can take action and we don't have to wait for, again, the EPA with Superfund site to do the right thing. So some of those things I just was thinking about were, you know, I know there's been a lot of work done around flood response, and, you know, speaking of today, and recovery plans. So when there's flooding, the water and sediment, which PCBs are really associated with, do end up leaving the banks and, you know, we consider the river and the river becomes something much larger. And it's in our homes, on our roads and that kind of thing. So thinking about what does cleanup after that mean? With PCB laced water and waste and how do folks protect themselves from that. And I don't mean the city goes out and fixes all this, but that we educate people to know how to deal with it, which I saw in New York City, even they didn't have a good grip when Hurricane Sandy happened. And I don't even know how many millions of gallons of raw sewage ended up all over everyone's houses. The city and the EPA had no idea what to tell people. So maybe looking into how do you clean up? How do you make sure that you're safe when things that we know have PCBs in them are suddenly in your living room, you know? I think also we can reduce PM 2.5 levels in general inside and outside of homes because we know that exposure to PM 2.5, no matter what it's made of, actually reduces people's health. So if we help us, if we all have better air quality, then being exposed to PCBs may have less of an impact. We also can talk about limiting the wood burning in city limits. Wood smoke, unfortunately, everything I discovered about wood smoke is unfortunate these days, but it is actually a major source of aerosolized dioxins and PCBs. And at first I was like, why? Why are PCBs in wood smoke? And it makes sense because if you have trees that have been here for 50 years and they've been exposed to PCBs, they're gonna store that and we're gonna burn it and we're re-releasing it then and people are breathing it. The dioxins piece, I'm still disturbed by. I need to do more research on that. And then the other thing would be pushing for upgraded emergency and subsidized housing stock, because I also discovered that PCB exposure happens through decaying old infrastructure, kind of like lead paint in old infrastructure. PCBs are actually present in old window caulking and tub caulking and other fluid based things that were used back in the 70s before it was outlawed. So there are ways that I don't want to say we can't do anything about PCBs in the river, but it seems a little bit out of our hands. And so what gets into the air seems a little bit out of our hands, but these other exposures might be something we can do something. The end. Sorry. So is that what you wanted?
Yes.
Okay.
You wanted.
All right, okay. And now you're like, please leave.
Go away. They're freaking me out.
Anyway, so do you have your kids take showers after you go to Kingston Point?
Yeah, we do, absolutely. But we don't stop enjoying our environment, right? I think it's really important that, I mean, anything we do to try to make our environment better has to include us engaging with the environment, because it helps us understand why we're doing it. So yeah, we take showers. sometimes, my partner is a sailor and so she likes to go out and swim in the Hudson, and after it rains, I won't go in there, but they will, because I can't stop. So, but it's something that we all make decisions. It's
Yeah, and we are, we do have those warnings about after it rains now that we never have. And that also is part of education.
Those are usually more sewage related.
But
yeah, well, it turns out sewage concentrates PCBs, so
Right,
maybe
no,
if people were like,
that's-
it's not just poop that you're in,
Yeah.
it's like PCBs and PFAS. And these things are concentrated sewage.
so if you're talking about vegetation, like trees and other things, are they taking them up through the roots, or are they also taking them in
Both.
through transpiration?
Both. I'm not a forest expert, but I do know that there are two ways for them to take it up, and it can be through the canopy and the things that are depositing on the leaves, and then also through roots.
And then the water, PCBs in water. Now, we always said, okay, we get rid of the sediment at the source. But anyway, are PCBs kind of spread out through the whole column?
They are, but thank you so much for asking that, because I remember something I really want to tell you, which is a little bit uncomfortable, is that I learned that when I said that piece around the more chlorines that are around the molecular, the worse they are and the heavier they are, that means that the really bad guys are usually in the sediment. It's not like any of them are good. These are all bad things. But so the things that are in the air are actually PCBs that aren't as deadly. They're not as deadly. Now, they're still deadly.
So it sounds like what you're saying, because I'm very curious about this whole, I know that there's an argument whether it's spurious or not, but saying, oh, well, there's no point. If we dredge the river to get the PCBs out, it's just going to disturb it and distribute it into, so it sounds like almost the main risk is from the aerosolization of PCBs. How much worse are they in the water? With obviously they pollute fish and trees and whatever, but it sounds like the main risk to humans is from aerosolization, is that right?
Yes, because, well, I would say yes, because that's the easier and more dispersed route for exposure.
Right, yeah.
Because
that
not
makes
everyone
sense.
is swimming, but
Or
everyone
what
is
about
breathing.
drinking?
The drinking water, that's a question for the drinking water plants everywhere, I think, that are using Hudson, but I think they've had to deal with that. I don't know. A really good question.
Do we get a water from Hudson?
No,
No.
no,
We do know.
really.
The Ryan,
Hudson
yes,
City.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Franklin.
Yeah.
Yes,
Parking
New York
lot.
City that gets the good,
Yes,
action
they
cam
do.
stuff.
And it won't have PCBs in it either.
No, it's
And,
too high up, right? Yeah.
this is really good information.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then-
So many questions that I had. Thank you so much.
I thought there was something else that I didn't.
So does that mean, so in your opinion, should, because the whole kind of, oh, well, if we dredge it, we're just gonna stir things up and it'll be worse, sounds like GE getting massively off the hook, but it sounds like there's actually some.
I think it's one of those wicked problems. I don't know if you guys have heard that term, but it's a wicked problem. There are so many goods and bads, and who knows, like, it might save GE money and it might not, like, but I think what I would say is that whatever reduces the exposure to people
Yes, I
is
get
the
it.
best way
Sure.
to go, because
Sure.
anything we decide for people is gonna be good for fish and all that, but we're so used to thinking about the fish first and not the people. So I think reducing the distribution of those PCBs, because the other question that I have is wherever the sediment is taken and stored, that becomes a source for whatever community of human beings is nearby. And it will be aerosolized and it will go into their water and those kinds of things. So I'm constantly questioning, where is it going? And what's the cost on either end? And so I think that just has to be like incorporated.
There's a question from Mary also.
Okay,
She was asking, is methane part of the cycle of air-water link of PCBs, or other PM 2.5. Mary, did you want to articulate that?
I just was wondering if methane from wastewater treatment plants impacts this cycle that Eli, you're talking about.
No, it's not a part of that cycle because methane is a gas. So methane isn't considered a particulate in the air. It's
Right.
considered kind of a constituent of the air. But it is a part of that. It's absolutely a part of that cycle. And where you have methane, you're going to have actually the release of methane. You're going to have the disturbance of the air as the methane erupts, and it will help distribute some of those particles. Does that make sense? It might. So any release of gas in a water body will create bubbles, and those bubbles will pop.
Okay.
So when
And
the,
that's what sewage treatment plants do.
Yeah, if they're doing the right thing, that's what they're doing.
and so when it concentrates, the sewage treatment plant, they concentrate it, does it go out with the sludge or with the effluent both?
My assumption would be both, but that's a really astute question. I would assume a lot of it is associated with the sludge. So that's a good question. So then where is the sludge going from waste treatment plants?
Right, because now sometimes they're pelletizing it, burning it, and using fertilizer.
Yeah, but so I don't want to leave you depressed though, because, yeah. I'm an environmental
I'm still
scientist.
stuck on the 3 to 4 inches of fecal matter.
But I'm an environmental scientist, and there's a lot that we've done, a lot of mistakes we've made. But the thing is, like on a local level, we can actually fix some of them. National level, global level, whatever. I don't know what they're doing, but we actually can do stuff here. And we are, and you have as a CAC. So I think it's exciting to be like, okay, we're getting a grip on, yeah, that's bad, and everyone's talking about it, and it's really scary, but we're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do what we can do and not get freaked out about stuff we can't.
So if I insist on continuing to verify, A, I want to know when there's an inversion.
Yeah.
And B, seriously, would it be worth my while making sure that I get wood from higher ground or?
I really don't know the answers to that. When I was looking at the literature around PCBs, they were saying just any wood releases it. And so I don't know if it's because it's so ubiquitous at this point,
Right.
that's just in all wood. But if we know that there are concentrated sources, the living organisms near those sources are gonna have more, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't,
Yeah,
I don't know, like I haven't done that
Okay,
study.
just
I wouldn't know
curious. Thank you.
scientifically.
okay,
Yeah, that's
thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
yeah.
For nothing.
I know. But listen, I would love to come back and you
No,
all
you're not
should.
coming back.
I mean,
See you as a member next week, next month. You have a teenager?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Oh, well, we can think that teenager.
Are you serious?
No, we
I
are.
could unleash my daughter on you. Okay.
Did
I'm
they,
sorry.
did they?
What's the age, is there an age limit?
No.
That is really funny.
Yeah, we
Okay.
want some students.
That's cool. That would be cool.
Great, okay, so Mary has asked us to,
Eli, you're still sharing.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's
so
stopped.
Mary, what's your time frame? Do you want us to move you up?
I'm fine. So whenever it works for you is fine with me.
What do you guys want to do?
We can move her up.
Okay, why don't we just move you up?
Okay. And Emily, I sent an email with links to the Ulster County site where this plan is being presented and where all the different maps are. I don't know if that would be helpful to put that up on the screen, or Julie, if you're able to.
Yeah, so let me just tell you that the local, right after our last meeting, the Esopus Creek Watershed Management Plan came out. And it was supposed to, comments were due on the were due on the 15th, but now they're due on the 22nd.
Mhm.
And Mary, and so we would most likely comment, and Mary has brought up some specific items. And I just looked at the management plan a teeny bit.
Great.
Is this what you're asking me to bring up?
Absolutely, yes. And if you want to just sort of go through it. So this first link is the current draft plan. Then the second link is where you make comments. Then there's a summary.
I have the downloaded document.
And then the next link is for a very detailed map. Okay, sorry, this is the survey. The second one, the draft map of stream features, that is extremely detailed. It shows, so that link, if you actually want to click on that, it might be hard to have it download easily. If it is, okay, great. And this link, the more you zoom into it, the more detail you get. So, and it's a lot of information, but it seems to be well stored. So that right there, the numbers to your left show 12 management zones, and now you're getting the ability to see what the surveyors, the consultants surveyed the entire stream corridor from the Ashokan Center down to the Hudson River.
Wow.
And this is all on the same website to help you at understanding what the management plan is discussing. The management zone 4 and 5 includes the city of Kingston, and it's divided by I-87. If you go up a little, if you go back a little, Julie, or not. So that's where the dividing line is 587.
Yeah, the numbers are, they did a really nice job because they actually put a line showing.
Right, there's a line. It's a very thin black line. It's sometimes hard to see it.
So just to make sure you know where you're looking right now, you're
That's
looking at the plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's 587, and then
Yeah,
87.
and 87 is up.
Oh,
to
that's
that.
And that's Washington. And so the green circle is the Sandy Road public access, boat and fishing access.
Yeah.
And then it's identifying with a little blue circle the invasives in that area. The arrow shows artificial source of water, and that is something, there are 2 sites actually, or 3 sites, and I'm not sure if that's just stormwater or something else.
Oh, because there are some stormwater outlets right there.
Correct, as well as Tannery Brook.
What's the,
And the squiggles to the right are large wood jams in the creek.
oh, but is it showing the riprap or something, or is
No,
that?
the purple dots show riprap or hardened banks.
Yeah, hardly.
And the stream, the blockages are from when?
They would have been, this was a survey that was done in late August. So this would be as recent as August. Oh, right. You can click on this and get information. It's a lot of data. And then that is showing, I guess I'm still exploring more and more of what's on here. So those are 2 different log jams in the creek. There are a few others upstream, but those are the most downstream log jams. They recommend different things in this management zone 4 and 5 that involve the city of Kingston. So you would be I would encourage you to look at it and as individuals and or as a CAC, make comments about what you think about what they've recommended, what you think should be added. And this is a unique opportunity to have watershed-wide ideas and site-specific ideas discussed and put down.
So I was just saying, normally we would write a letter and we just say, we think this, this, and this, but they want us to put it into a form, so how are we indicating that we are the source of the comments? Have you put them in yet?
I have not put them in yet. That's a good question. I'm pretty sure you are identified when you put them in.
I didn't look clearly
But
yet.
I would also encourage you to send in a letter, send in a document anyway.
Okay.
Yes, it will make it easier for the consultants to incorporate these comments into what's already a 90-page document. But it's even more important to have the information, the input, especially from the City of Kingston CAC and other CACs.
Yeah, and, okay, so,
And
yeah, so I
had a few other points, but go ahead and ask the
Go
question.
ahead. Yeah, you sent us some points.
And then I had a few more. So, I mean, if you want to go over what I sent you, and then we can.
Do we figure out how to grow into some comments? Are you using this more?
Well, if we do, that's what I want to know, like, do you go down, I mean, first of all, you want to know that it's saving, or do you have to like prepare it all and then like stick it in and then?
That's a really good question. So,
But who would we ask, like the
Ben Gannon or Bert Samuelson. And that their names are below the photographs further down. Bert Samuelson with Planning Department and Ben Gannon with Department of the Environment.
Right, and
and that email address will be sent to Ben Gannon, the scientist involved. So you can ask him these questions.
all right.
And this last map just shows the study parameters. It's not as detailed, but it's it's another map for the area. It was the first one done. So it will look at the same area with a different set of maps. With the baseline map, I mean. So Emily, just to add a few more things, the stream, the river, the creek is a little extra wide at this section because of 3 major bridges all built nearby. And so that is also impacting the water quality, the lack of riparian in some of the area, and just in general, a poor visual quality to the creek. Continually, the creek at this site with the river keepers water quality testing, it is not considered one of the, it always comes back as fairly good water quality. Then the invasives are in this area. But another area is access. So helping the public have some way to access the Esopus Creek, which goes back to our discussion about the LWRP. And then one point that they made was whether or not even something like at Kingston Plaza, there could be more signage or something that says behind this wall is a creek, or there's levees in some way to highlight the creek with the levees. So,
Mhm.
and then there is flooding that does happen upstream and downstream of the flood wall and the levees. And I guess the levees have been topped as well.
Right. Well, I feel like they don't, in the next section of stream, which is downstream,
And it,
they just gloss over the fact that Kingston has some of that waterfront up to Renton Street. And so I mean, that's just one thing I would kind of emphasize, because they say kind of it's the town of or Ulster, but it is the.
yeah,
town
it's, I agree. It's,
in Kingston, and it's very well protected in that area because it's all large properties and in the floodplain. I mean, it has it already has really beautiful wetlands and is not developed like Kingston Plaza is developed.
so I
So-
would say all the more reason for comments
Yeah, and
because
then I think that I think there's also just kind of watershed management and the idea, that we may be interested in or, that are beyond just these two beaches. And, and that they're calling for a trail or some kind of, access for the whole river, the whole creek, right? And so we could comment on those kind of things. And they're calling for a coordinator, watershed coordinator,
right.
right? Yeah.
This is hoping to create an ongoing program for
Mhm.
the entire Lower Esopus watershed,
Yeah.
and starting with the stream management plan. One additional point I would make is even if currently the LWRP you have for the Rondout Creek doesn't include the Esopus, I would think being the only community at the moment of the 7 communities that does have an LWRP. No, that's not true. I take it back. The village of Saugerties also has an LWRP, but I would think it would be valuable to make a comment about it and whether or not, and just to say you would be interested in considering that for the future for your Esopus Creek waterfront. If
And
that
it
makes sense.
already says that, it already makes that suggestion. So we could just emphasize it.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, that's,
Did we ever determine either through DOS or otherwise that you can have the two Rondout and Rondout and Esopus Creek or Esopus? No.
we haven't, and I had brought it up.
That's a
that-
tricky one.
I can't remember, Mary, where I brought it up, maybe at the meeting over for the Lower Esopus. I might have brought it up there, or I might have brought it at the EMC. But, do you know what we're trying, actually, who do we even ask? About whether or not our tidal waterfront should be combined with the Esopus, or if it would be two.
I know that there's been some casual conversations with the Department of State people that, at the event that Scenic Hudson put on in Hudson, New York, about 2 months ago. Even that person didn't know for sure. So I think it would be of interest because Saugerties, Ulster, Kingston all have waterfront on other water bodies. And so,
Right.
and now well, yeah. Um,
Can the county do a LWRP or does it have to be the municipality?
Many years ago, a member of the planning department, Jennifer Schwartz, did get a grant for doing an LWRP for the county along the Hudson River. I believe there was some complications with that. Julie, I don't know if you were involved with that. Or aware of it.
Don't remember it either.
But so there was a grant that was funded for doing that. You might get some painful looks when it's brought up, but it has been done. It has been done. I don't know if it was completed,
Okay,
but I would think doing an LWRP for the entire Esopus Creek as part of an overall plan would be an interesting conversation to have.
yeah. It would, it may be too much coordination or too specific. And I think the access on the Kingston side is a real issue.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I like some of the ideas they brought up, just like artistic stuff and, you know, that you can just use art and signage to bring people to realize that they're right there on the stream. Okay, yeah, and I really appreciate you reminding us of this deadline. So,
Essie Lewis is the new Chief Diversity Officer with the county, and she's part of the team. She made a presentation at Point of Praise about that church being involved in the process. And
good.
then in the town of Ulster, opposite you, she also made a trip to Church of Life, and they have been flooded. They've been surrounded by floodwaters. So that's in your neighborhood, but not in your city district.
No, Point of Praise is, isn't it?
Point of Praise is, yes, yes. So the final comment would be that even if it's a pipe dream, even if it's a long-term vision, if it's mentioned, referenced in the stream plan, then there's a possibility of it being included in the implementation plan, and there is funding for implementing the projects that are delivered. And maybe that funding is just leverage for other grants, but it is part of the order on consent that there was money set aside for implementing the projects. And from the DEP, right? So,
Mary, has Supervisor Quigley weighed in on this at all, or?
tomorrow evening, Ben Gannon will be meeting with citizens from Lake Katrine to discuss this. Supervisor Quigley is certainly aware of this. I have not heard directly what he thinks about it.
Did they mention the water, the town of Ulster's water wells that are right there next to the creek? Did they mention that in this report?
I believe there's not enough discussion or very little discussion about drinking water infrastructure in this report.
Yeah, because that's their water, that's their well, that's their water source. And it's obviously, you know, tapping the base flow of the stream.
So you're talking about the aquifers under the Esopus Creek. That's part of their drinking water infrastructure. Because as far as I understood, the wells were more actually, well, right, they're wells.
Oh, I don't know how deep they are, but I assume that they had some, so maybe I'm wrong, but they may be drawing from the water.
Connected.
Yeah.
When I lived in Charlie.
Well, I don't want to take up too much time. You let me jump in line, so.
Yeah, well, thank you for, and then normally what we do is we try to finish the stuff up and talk about it at our meetings unless there's a deadline. And then we just try to, and if there is a deadline like this one, we figure out if we're gonna comment, and then we deputize people to write the comments.
Great. I would encourage you to reach out to Ben Gannon if you have questions about what something means, or
Yeah,
Bert Samuelson. So
okay,
so this is, there are a lot of county staff involved with this, so use them. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of resources. Tim Koch with Cornell Cooperative Extension is also involved with the educational outreach. But it's best to go through Ben Gannon first, and
Okay.
then they can share questions. Again, thank you all for doing so much work. That was fascinating to hear Eli's presentation. So,
okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
And
Very.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so, um, so the document's about 90 pages, and, you know, the ones that are just specific to Kingston is there's not that many, it's a couple pages maybe. And the question would be, do we want to comment on other things like the need for a watershed coordinator, or, and I haven't read anything about that, or like just the watershed management. Because of course, we're downstream from both the Ashokan and anything that happens in the other towns between us. So should we comment?
yeah, it sounds like we should.
Should we comment as a CAC? And if so, who can help with the government?
I'm happy to help with writing if you give me some bullet points.
Okay.
That's
All
my,
right,
that's my thing, so,
okay.
but I would need some direction, because I'm fairly new to this, so.
Yeah. And was, how
What's the
about
deadline?
the 22nd now? which
Okay,
is- Must be a Monday.
Yeah, I've been reviewing it, but not intermittently. Yeah, I was
Yeah, and I
aware of the
haven't-
15th,
I
but
didn't
now
look
we've
at
got
it
the
till
22nd.
today.
No, I looked at it. There were a couple of things I wanted to look at right away.
Are there specific things that you're concerned
But
about?
some of them weren't there. Like there was, like they did mention the water trail, okay, but there was some discussion, which I had with Mary and I had with Kevin Smith from the South Land Conservancy about a land trail. And that's starting to look suspiciously like the old Rondout Creek access trail, which blew up in a lot of people's
Yeah.
faces years ago, that's 20 years ago. Yeah. So that's not there. They do mention Glen Eyrie in terms of, and that's another thing, if you're gonna go kayaking over Glen Eyrie Falls.
Right, no, there definitely has to be a.
Yeah, they don't recommend that.
coordinate or-
They don't recommend that. They recommend a public viewing spot. But I think the boat may have sailed on that because Travis Rothline has passed away. His kids, I think, want to. I mean, so did Travis and Aronson have gone. So, and then there's septic in the Glen Eyrie area on Glen Eyrie Boulevard. That's another thing. But these aren't our problems. These are really Supervisor Quigley's issues. Like, or the people up at Lake Katrina that are going to attend.
Yeah, but also like the septic can affect us from upstream. And they call for a septic study or to make sure the septic systems are working. And I think probably,
Now, that opens up the Marbletown Park question.
Right, yeah, the
I
beach,
remember when you used to be able to swim there.
yeah,
Don't do that.
it got washed out in,
but also I think it's fecal bacteria.
yeah.
Yeah, but is it going to?
It was very encouraging to hear that water quality tests have come back so positively. I never swam in that thing after it flooded.
Yeah. I guess I've gotten out and waded. When I go put it in Sand Road, but I don't think I ever thought about swimming.
Say again?
Maybe the 1990s was the last time.
Yes, sir.
Swimming there, right, before the 20.
It wasn't Mary just saying that they consistently found the water
Yeah, well, even back then, it was hit and miss. They had,
Yeah, I think
some
it's
days
really-
it was fine,
Yeah,
it could be fine for weeks, and then there'd be some type of an event and it
yeah.
closed, closed for swimming.
Right, so, what I propose is that you two send me whatever points you want to make, and I'll draft something and run it by you, and then I can fill in the form. And then I think we should also write a letter from the CAC.
But I was gonna,
Yeah, and so I guess, and I'll call Ben tomorrow and find out. Well, I'll try to figure out, like, I could just go through and go test, so I got down to the bottom and see what,
Right,
how you.
but I mean, it's no problem to create a Word document, it just has.
Yeah,
Right.
Right,
here's the suggestion from the, the interactive page that they had for comments. Community needs along the lower, so there's ecological needs and implementation of objectives from the stream management plan. So that's, and cite your sources, what page and what have you.
Okay.
That-
Well,
that's-
so,
that's
yeah,
sort of the
if you would give me
what
some
we're
guidance, then I'll.
okay,
Yeah,
put some-
yeah, so I think when we're doing the review,
all
I'll,
right.
I'll try to phrase it that way, cite the pages that.
Great, thank you.
reference.
So the 22nd is on Monday?
Monday.
Yes, it's a week,
Yeah.
it's nearly 2 weeks. It's,
So
it's 2 weeks yesterday.
Julie, do you think that's okay, and should we just deputize ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll coordinate offline, so do we have to do anything formal?
You need to pass a resolution saying that you're going to submit comments on behalf of the CAC.
All right. Kevin, you want to do that motion?
Yeah, okay, yeah, on the motion to made, making a motion that we're going to make comments on the lower Sophie Stream management plan.
I second that.
All right, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, so it's 7:30, so.
Yeah, can I make a request that we wrap this up by 8?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out if there's some things that we can skip.
Well, the one thing is just at the beginning that I just sent you that
Yeah.
draft of the letter, so
Yeah.
just if everybody would have a look at that and
Yeah,
decide
so
what we want to do.
can we, let's just
These
go
go
through
over the
this.
annual report.
Right, where is that though?
That's a new business.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through, we pretty much, A is your letter.
Yeah.
So, was anyone able to look at the letter? She just sent it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I sent it at like 5:30. So. Well, let's push that to next meeting. Or we can talk about it offline.
Okay. I think it's okay. I think we could say, haven't thought about this yet, instead of just saying, you need to stop it. Yeah, no,
I think we
that's
come in
fine.
strong,
Are you okay?
you know?
Yeah, are you okay, tabling it until?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that, because I did some other stuff. So, the solar zoning mapping tool, I just had one question about that, because I think also we can table that, but is anyone doing anything about the fact that the zoning plan didn't cover the large? Is
No, that would be us.
climate, we're not doing it, so. it's
Climate Smart is looking at it, but only as much as the CAC is looking at it.
Okay, so when you put this down, is this what we're talking about? Or
Yes.
is this, okay.
Yep.
All right, so is there anything we have to do?
What we had talked about was that when there's the relook or whatever, look
Mhm.
back, is if there's and period of evaluation is submitting comment about modifying it, that, right, Kevin?
Yeah, and you saw what Tanya said, I mean, I'm getting the sense that some people in the city are not fully conversant with form-based code.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Including the
think,
building department.
because what I'm also doing is, I looked at the solar mapping tool, I looked at um, the zoning, and I looked at our just wetland map, and I feel like there is some wetlands that we could definitely protect, and that's kind of like, that's one of the things that solar mapping looks at. Anyway, so I think we're on our way, okay with that. So Julie, is there anything on raise or?
I have nothing to raise, I have nothing in Kingston Point. I have not heard about the funding for Kingston Organics Phase 2 yet. But we have surpassed 15 tons of collection.
Last time I put something in, the first bid was full.
This is so exciting. That's awesome. And I don't have any updates on CPP either.
Okay.
I'll be speaking to Ted tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a meeting.
You have a meeting
I-
earlier, I have a meeting with him later.
Is that tomorrow?
I have one tomorrow.
Okay, well, I
My
have one
meeting
with
will
him on
be
Thursday.
You have one Thursday, okay.
So then the Pace University, we're meeting on Friday, and we have some reading to do.
Yes.
And
Wait, is
also
that
to
Friday
try,
or Thursday?
it got
To
switched to
Friday.
Friday.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah,
Same
and it
way,
got,
though?
it's
Yes.
only 1 hour,
Okay,
and it's 10
10 AM, not 1 PM, okay,
Yep.
I'll change my.
10 to 11. 10 to 11.
Okay,
Yeah, so double check that.
yeah,
Um,
so,
And then it looks like we should call someone about the LWRP, right?
I will talk to them on Friday about it, Pace people, but
But like, maybe we could just start with someone like Josh Hunt, because he works at UMass, and he lives in Kingston.
yeah,
And see, I mean, I don't know that many people at DOS yet.
do you want me to call Josh on?
If you feel, yeah, if you have the time, that would be great. Anything on the HATS project?
just, no update, the December 23 is all there is, but as soon as we take it off the agenda, it'll be back.
Yeah, and I don't have
Do you want
anything,
me to take it off the agenda?
No, well, only if you want Bryce Weismuller to spring into action, on the, Murphy's Law theory, right?
Right.
so I haven't done anything on native plants, but I wanted to know about the helium balloon thing. Can we just write a letter of support to the sponsors of the state law? And just say and then copy our own state people?
Yes.
And that would be a start of us taking action, because you've already, also, I forgot to tell you that in the Freeman on the 4th, Michelle Hinchy and Dee Dee Barrett are trying to put there was a bill to map out renewable energy sites, and it was signed into the law. So it's called the Clean Energy Mapping Tool. And which I don't know if it doesn't even say, like, is it bigger than Scenic Hudson's? So it will help people, it'll do like what the solar mapping tool does for renewables. So, but anyway, so here's the article. If you didn't see it. Did you see it? Yeah. So here's the article.
Thank you.
And then, so anyway, I've looked at the maps, and I'm not gonna, I mean, I could bring up a map, but I think it's okay to wait, but the wetland maps of the city of Kingston, there's still wetlands that would be unprotected, like in the, kind of on the top of the mountain.
Meeting.
Are they done? And we're not?
No, they're starting.
They just started.
Oh, you're kidding. This common council
We expected.
Taking action on the healing wood or no?
Well, we're gonna write a letter of support.
Yeah, we can figure out who's sponsoring the building. Yeah, so, I mean, do you want to take a crack at that and then just bring it in?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, I mean, the session's just started. Anyway, what I would like to do is be more prepared and show you something on the screen next time to show you where the wetlands are and whether or not we need to protect them based on where they are. And, because they're all over the city, there's little tiny ones.
Yeah.
All right, so I think, are the barges okay now or not? I thought we got an email that said that
I don't know that they're okay, they were paused.
they're just
Paused, right?
Yeah, but I think, Pat Ryan and Mark Molinaro are trying to get it permanently.
So we-
I think
so we
they-
should-
I believe they introduced legislation, but I don't have the citation for it.
Okay,
I
so
think it
we,
was in the Daily Freeman. In fact, I think I put it in last
Right.
month's minutes, yeah.
yeah, okay, so should we keep it on?
You can always put it back on if it comes back up.
Okay, and then the PCB Superfund site, I think I sent you a letter saying that, listen, a letter went out to the EPA, to the Riverkeeper, a lot of people signed on, and including Steve Noble and, Michelle. Michelle?
Did she?
No,
Michelle Hirsch.
no, I got the name wrong.
Oh, Hirsch.
Hirsch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, so that means right now we don't have to take any action because we've already taken that action?
As a city,
Yeah,
Okay,
so we can just keep watching.
Yeah, the mayor sent the letter?
No, Riverkeeper got everyone to sign on to a letter. And,
Oh, okay.
and I thought I printed it out, but I didn't, so,
you want me to remove
Is it
that?
on the Riverkeeper's website or something?
oh, well, we got an email and I forwarded it to you. So, Rebecca Martin
Yeah,
sent it out today. So,
you forwarded it, okay, yeah. I'll look for it. I was in the meeting 12 days. So.
yeah, no, that's okay, but anyway, the point is, the point is to,
Oh, here, thank God. Okay, we're good.
is that right now, kind of the ask that was the original ask, I think got taken care of by the city, by Steve signing it. So,
So I'll remove this until there's an action.
yeah, until there's something else, yeah, I think that's okay. And then, okay. So the annual report,
Here's printed versions if people want. I got comments from Kevin. I don't know if anyone else had comments or had a chance to look at it. Oh, I did get comments from Ted.
oh wait, you didn't get mine?
No,
Oh, I sent,
I think I did.
I added mine from, well, let me look at the list. Yeah, you didn't get. Yeah, I added to Kevin's
And you did track changes,
and I did track
which
changes.
I didn't do. I just sort of was doing rough and dirty.
Oh. Okay,
So sorry, and I added my name.
did you send one thing Sunday night and one thing Monday morning?
I Yes,
Well,
I
okay.
did this first and then I did the
Okay.
minutes.
I have it though, I just did not incorporate it.
Okay, yeah, I actually put a footnote in and I took the thing out about COVID
Okay,
and,
I will find that.
and I added stuff to.
Okay.
Yeah. So Helen, mostly we need to know if you went to any conferences.
I did not, right?
What's left in yellow is still undetermined.
Yes,
Okay, well, I know Land Trust Alliance, yeah, I attended a bunch of meetings. I didn't attend the annual meeting, but I attended standards and practices, an in-depth series that went on for 6 weeks or something.
okay, and then
In
what about,
February. That was in February.
what's our environmental society, someone part of that?
Yeah,
And
wait, which list are we looking
the last one,
at? Oh, the last one. Oh,
and with the voters,
yeah, still.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then
Yeah,
I'll
I
just,
was okay.
Under the special guests, what was, the thing that, Simon, the solar power, the communal buy of renewable power, that presentation we had from
Oh, was that this year?
Simon's spouse, that was last year. wasn't it?
CCA,
Yeah,
Yeah, Kingston transition.
Oh, yeah.
was that in 2023?
yeah, I believe it
Yeah, I
was.
think it was. Oh, I missed that.
Okay, I'll have to look back.
I can check.
Okay. Other comments besides what Emily said? Which I will incorporate once I get it on my email.
No, just thank you for doing it.
So then if that's that, then we can say that this is done and I will get it to all of you and post it on the website and whoever's going to build it to public safety can present it.
Yeah, the only other one is Brianna went in programs.
I was trying to
Yeah.
wrap my head around kind of Weston and Sampson interfaces with the Raise grant. Are they actually using Weston and Sampson's study or is it just being done separately?
Well, the Weston Sampson work is done.
Right.
The results of that are going to be used as the design. for
Okay,
the
okay,
race.
that's what I was asking, because when I saw it there, I said, gee, I think I made a comment to that, we haven't met in a long time on that, on
Yeah.
Weston and Sampson.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so I don't know if you want to vote on it or if you want to just call it good.
Oh, I'm sorry, the CCO presentation was, in November 2022.
Right, great.
How time flies.
Yeah, I think it's okay, and if you feel like we can just say it's okay, then,
I move to accept the annual 2023 annual report with revisions.
okay, I second it. All in favor?
I
Okay, communications to local media?
This is a suggestion from Helen.
Oh,
That's true. I haven't given it this thought. I'm sorry. Let me get back to it at the next meeting, just to.
okay, because the EMC had the Freeman and the, Albany Times Union come and talk. So, in November, and so they kind of, give us, what they do and what they, and how to contact.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry,
So I mean, that's good, because then we can do something about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And, okay. And then, okay, so then, okay, we're still okay for 10 minutes. Open issue discussion, we have nothing. Communications, I wanted to make sure you knew that Brianna is going to be presenting as, and there's a Women in Science webinars put on by the DEC, and she's going to present February 21st, 3:30 to 4:30. She's the Conservation Pathway Coordinator at the Kingston YMC Garden Project. And she's going to be talking about creating conservation pathways for youth.
Wow.
So,
3:30.
yeah, and I sent, you have to register, but here's the document, and then there's 4 talks, the first one's tomorrow by 4 women in science that were, or had worked at the DEC. Anyway, but I just thought it was great that Brianna was doing
That's
that,
fantastic.
and you do have to register, but I know.
I'd love to see her present.
Yeah, it's so nice, and yes, it would, so
Right.
if you put that into like your email,
Yeah.
I emailed that to you guys a while ago.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then
Sorry.
I got this, I think from Judith Bank, but there's, just in case you're interested, February 27th is New York is Not Disposable Advocacy Day, and it's with Beyond Plastics and the League of Women Voters and a bunch of other people, but Beyond Plastics, but it's always fun to go to Albany, you go and then you go to your assemblyman and senator. But what I'm bringing up too is that we can watch is that they're trying to advocate for the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act and the bigger, better bottle bill, which every year they're trying to pass these. But anyway, so 2 things, there's that specific day and then that, those are still coming up. I just thought I would make that events. And,
Just want to note communications that, the mayor will be putting a more public version of the email that Emily sent around, seeking
Oh, great.
CRC applications.
Yay.
And
Oh, she will.
newsletter.
oh, good, great, okay. Okay, I don't know if I'll get everyone I know is so busy, but I just keep trying to ask, so I'm just making you aware that I sent you a, sample letter of what I reached out to my friends and acquaintances, and just keep trying to
Right,
see,
I keep asking.
yeah, and if we, even if Eli's teenage daughter, that would be nice.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So that's all we have with, membership. And then we can just quickly go through these A through F. Complete streets,
Sorry, nothing.
nothing, planning board.
No,
Oh, so what should we do about Tanya's request?
Yes.
do we want to send Suzanne something, and if so, what scope of it?
Our purview is, pedestrian, healthy pedestrian kind of thing, and it seems like if this is the first time that anything like this has happened, we need to start learning. I do have a concern about businesses not having 2 driveways, but they can ask for a planning board, I don't know what the word is, but
Waiver.
a waiver for
That's
2
what they're
entrances.
doing.
The thing is, I use that junction a lot, and it's like,
I know,
sorry. And when she started talking, I was like, oh, for goodness sake, it's irretrievable. You're gonna get that little piece of sidewalk and then you start hitting people's yards. anyway, but then I just thought that that's how change actually happens, is when you just make a little improvement and grab a piece of it, because it just feels so industrial there, and it's true, you wouldn't want it, I mean, occasionally I walk to Stewart's from my house, and crossing that junction is just terrifying.
I know, and the kids that go to George Washington Elementary have to cross that.
Right.
And they
yeah.
don't even have a crossing
I
guard,
know, it's pathetic, yeah.
and
So I
Yeah.
kind of like that she was standing up for it and saying, no, they have to obey the rules, and I know it feels like a kind of semi-industrial place, but it is right on the Empire State Trail, and it, so I'm all for doing something about it, making some comment to the planning board or whatever it is we feel we might have some leverage.
And I don't know about the number of cars. I mean, the only time I went to a dispensary, they seemed to like make you wait in the waiting room until some other, so it wasn't really crowded in the actual showroom. And that would mean that there could be cars parked out. But the point is you could still park on the street. You
Yeah,
can park
I don't
by
see that.
Stewart's, you
Yeah.
can park by King's.
Right, you
You
can
can
put
park
right
on
on
all-
South Wall Street.
Yeah.
And I mean, a business of that size, they need 13 spaces, that's.
I thought she said 15,
13.
13, yeah.
I'm surprised 13 can even fit there.
Yeah, that's kind of tight.
Yeah.
They reconfigured it from the auto place. You come in on 32. Now, but it's got another problem. What happens if you're coming the other way from Kingston?
I know,
Now you gotta
see-
cross, well, you gotta, wait till somebody gets hit by a trailways bus.
Yeah, I mean,
Do
that's where I would think it would go in front of that. That's okay, the county planning and and it's Route 32,
Yeah, stay on it.
so it seems like, I mean, and that's why you do have two entrances, so that it's easier to
Right,
like get
You go
out
in
on the
one.
south wall.
Yeah, you go in on 32 and you come out on South Wall.
Yeah, but if you're going the other direction, if you're going southbound, you need to turn on South Wall
Yeah.
and go in that way. Or just turn on South Wall and park. But, so is there any discomfort in common?
not mine. Are you willing to take that on?
I mean, I don't have everything she wrote down or anything, but I feel like I could probably do it. And Kevin might want to help me.
Yeah.
But the thing
Since he
is
did
that I still didn't understand who does it go to, laws and rules or to the planning department?
Well, it would go to the planning department for sure, but if it's gonna go to the common council, they're working on the easement portion or license agreement or whatever, however they want to phrase it. For the additional parking
Right,
in the area that's reserved for a future sidewalk.
Yeah.
You know, that's their issue. The rest of it is Suzanne. The major and minor waivers to the planning.
my point is, what's the deadline?
Oh, well, the planning meeting, I would think you would want to get it in before the planning meeting.
Which is,
I think it's the 18th, let me check the calendar.
You said it was soon.
It's soon, yeah.
yeah, because it's always like,
The 16th.
The 6th.
because the 15th is a holiday.
Because the
Mine
15th
is
is a
a
holiday.
Yeah,
So it's in 1 week.
Right.
yeah.
So getting it in, does it have to get in Friday before the Tuesday?
Comments to the
Because
plan?
that's in 3 days.
I think it'd be quite simple.
Mm.
We just that we're, that the CAC would like to advocate for the preservation of what should be a sidewalk there already. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think it has to be super technical.
Could be Friday at 2 p.m. So they haven't put the agenda out yet. The way Tanya found this was she went under current projects for the January meeting.
she was in
That
the,
has the site plans there.
Oh, right.
And then there were previous site plans, I believe, in Edinburgh, but I wasn't tracking on this.
but also she went to laws and rules.
Yeah,
It
right.
sounds like that ship has sailed. Was that kind of what she was saying?
The easement?
No,
Or-
laws and rules, they kicked it down the road a little bit to go back to Barbara.
Ah, okay.
And at the last meeting, they said, we don't know when it will be on the agenda again, because the new laws and rules committee will be new. And they didn't even know when the meeting was going to be. Who's Barbara, the corp counsel.
Oh,
So. And they didn't know if they were gonna do a special laws and rules meeting just for that, or if they were gonna do it at his regular laws and rules. There happens to be 2 laws and rules meetings on the agenda this month, though.
is this, well, that's the thing, like, is this something to do with trying to encourage cannabis dispensaries, or is it, I mean, because that, I don't think the use has anything to do
No.
with it, it's just
No,
applying the form-based code.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
All right, oh my God, that's really tough for me. Okay, so what are the laws and rules?
There's one on the 17th and one on the 23rd, but neither of them say why there would be 2.
So did they assign everyone new people
Yes,
when on
January 1st.
January 1st?
I'm around tomorrow if you want any help, just doing some wording together.
Okay,
I'm out for Thursday and Friday.
okay. All right, so,
So the new laws and rules chair is Michelle Hirsch.
Oh,
oh,
right.
Michelle Hirsch is the
And
one.
this is also why Michael Tierney is now here. He's our new.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
and I noticed you copied him
Mhm.
on your thingy.
Yes.
So, okay, so nothing for public safety, but I have it on my calendar. Climate smart, we're gonna forego, nothing, EMC, nothing for tree.
Yeah, Climate Smart didn't meet.
Yeah. And,
No update.
neither did EMC. So, okay. All right.
The next meeting is on the 13th. Do we have quorum?
13th,
But yeah, February 13th,
I
right?
think I might be away. February 13th. Yes, I will be in Atlanta.
Okay, so we need to make sure Brianna can make it and need it. Okay, so right now we have to have 3 people. And we're gonna push out the MC. So anything you can do to figure out someone that will be on.
Zoom bodies. Yes.
What was the final resolution for the weed store?
The weed store,
Yeah.
no, we didn't make one, so I guess we're not gonna do it yet. So should we make one that we're gonna comment and submit it to the planning board, not to the planning department or the planning board? Would we submit it to Suzanne?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can double check the form-based code. I think it's the planning department that does the waivers.
Okay.
It's done at staff level. And if it has to go further, it goes, the major waiver may go to, read the code. I don't.
What are they waiving, minimum of parking spots?
Yeah, the minimum,
The curb cut and.
Oh,
the
curb
curb cut and
Yeah.
minimum parking.
the
maximum
Maximum parking spots.
Okay, all right.
Which effectively means the creation of sidewalk that should be.
Yeah, right, okay, and that's why they want the easement.
Yeah.
Encroachment. Okay. So we're going to write a letter just basically saying they should follow the code and not provide a waiver for extra parking and bring us back the sidewalk.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Me? Okay. So we'll do that, and then the discussion was by Friday or not. Okay. Any other, can we adjourn? Anything last minute?
No.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
So we need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.